All right. Sorry for being gone for a few weeks, or I don't know if it's been a month now since my last video. Um, I do taxes for my day job, and if you're in America, you know that what our deadline is. And I was just exhausted. Like we were more behind this year than ever um, at our CPA firm doing taxes, and it just I didn't have it. Like I was working more. I probably worked more in the last few weeks than I ever have in my life, and like numerically, like the amount of hours I worked wasn't isn't that impressive on paper, but I'm just not accustomed to it, and I'm trying to get more accustomed to working more. But it's also the type of work, like counting other people's money for double-digit hours a day gets grueling after enough weeks. But anyway, uh, partly related to that. So the video I wanted to make today is basically, it's just totally unplanned, whatever comes off the top of my head. But I wanted to talk about, one of the main goals I have in life is basically to make my first $1 million. And the philosophy going into it is to be a miser until a million. Definition of a miser is, you're just really, pretty much you're just stingy with your money. You're really careful with how you spend your money. Some people might say you hoard your money, but um, the best way to hoard money is to invest money, and that's not really hoarding money. So, kind of usually when someone says like you're hoarding money, it's usually coming from an ignorant standpoint, unless you're like literally like hoarding a bunch of gold bars buried underground. I guess that would be hoarding money. Usually it's invested, creating businesses, creating job opportunities. But anyway, miser until a million. What's the idea behind this? So, the idea is that like 90 some percent of people are working jobs that they would quit if they had won the lottery. If you're working a job that you love and that you would do for free, or that you would do even if money were no issue, I mean, you're one of the most. I mean, you're one of the most blessed people on this planet. I mean, I'm more envious of you than someone with a lot of wealth. Like you have something to occupy your mind every day that gives you purpose, that gives you self-esteem, that makes it so you don't even need to like entertain yourself or sin at all. Like you're just preoccupied with helping people, and in a way that satisfies you not only like intellectually but also like in your heart. Um, I don't think most people are in that camp. I think most people would love to be able to quit their job. Now, whether or not you do is another story, but just like having the option to, right? And something I realized like within this last year is it's actually ethical to make the like your first million, because like if you're working a job where you're forced to put on a mask, or where you're not fully yourself, or you're working with people that you would never spend your free time with because you just you're only doing it for the money. You're only doing it for the paycheck. And to me, society doesn't view it this way because they need to program obedient workers. But if you're doing something just for money, even if it's an ethical job, it's kind of unethical because you're turning yourself into a version of yourself that you don't really want to be turned into. You're not really there's a cost to that, and I think if you're following me, you know what you're saying. What I'm saying. So basically, this idea is that like the I'm being extreme. Like I'm investing a huge percentage of my income. Now, a large part of that is possible because of um, help from like I have certain advantages I can take advantage of that make it easier for me than most. But it's important, like somewhat related to that. You need to take advantage of every advantage you have. Like you have to be ruthless. Like the world's not going to care about your success, so you literally need to like take the hand you're dealt and take advantage of every advantage. Whether that's like your intellect, your looks, your like if your family has money, like whatever it is, your whatever talents, like whatever advantage, um, don't waste it because the world isn't just gonna like isn't going to read your mind and know that's what you should be doing. Like, it's up to you to be in the driver's seat and do that. So anyway, this idea is like I'm starting to make more money. Like I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm making more money than ever. I'm making than I ever have, and I actually have money to invest now, basically. And I'm not rich yet, but I'm like, how do I get there? And and like choosing what investments is a whole nother topic. But basically, this video is more invest ruthlessly until you've reached your first million, and then once you've reached your first million, that's just kind of my arbitrary number I'm giving myself. Then you can be more loose with your money. Like I'm not gonna let myself buy a brand new car until I reach $1 million. I'm not gonna just splurge on things that aren't truly important until I reach that first million. Because like I kind of see myself. There's like this saying that like Americans saying that like there's this like mentality in America or whatever. I don't know if this is still said much that like we all feel like we're temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Now I can tell by the way most people are walking around that they don't feel that way. They're just like accepting their peasant slave serfdom. Even though I'm still a serf, like by my own definition, I don't have the mentality of one. I am not content with it. I am not okay with it. I have to have a plan and hope to escape it. And I'm not expecting any government or some outside entity to come and save me. So, this idea, and I'm also like, when you learn more about investing, you realize the power of compounding. And that's like another key element to this video is like, you need, like, the more thrifty you are, the more income you can make, combined with how thrifty you can be, um, it all compounds, it multiplies because all the money you can save and invest, that money will grow, and then you can grow what grows, and then you can grow what grows. And that's what I'm doing now. I mean, like when I'm selling a stock at a gain or I'm collecting a dividend, I've never still withdrawn cash. No, I can't say never. In over 5 years, I've never withdrawn money from my brokerage account because that's like that's my that is my tool for growing money. So if I take it out, I'm I'm like I'm weakening my wealth engine, if that makes any sense. And so, but I will say, like if I reach a million, if I reach, or sooner than, like, if the higher that number is, the less bad it is to withdraw. I mean, the whole point of investing is to eventually spend it. So, you don't want to just die with a huge brokerage account and never spend anything. That'll be another video about like at what rate do you spend, but I think that like once you reach a million, you can like be a lot more aggressive with your spending because you need to have that like cushion, and you need to have that like it's basically like you need to have fuck you money. Like if you reach $1 million, like your money is going to be making way more money than most employers could ever offer to pay you, and it's going to put you in this position where you could just like downsize and just move to the outskirts of Vegas or some boony town or go to Arizona, and you could just like live for three, like if you're just a single dude, you can live for like 3 grand a month or 4 grand a month, and it doesn't, if you have $1 million, like you don't need a job for that. Like and a lot of people are like, a million's not enough nowadays. And while I agree, like once I reach a million, I'm definitely going to be dreaming about 2 million as soon as I reach 1 million. So I agree in some ways, but I disagree in other ways because people are like doing the math, like, oh, what do I spend per month? What do I spend per year? Divide that by a million. Oh, I could only live for that many years. It doesn't work that way because the money can make you money. And a lot of you don't even need to buy a house. Like it literally can all be in stocks. It literally could all be in like Coca-Cola stock, just giving you passive dividends, and you could just use those dividends to pay your bills. And I mean the whole like that's just an example, and like it would be horrible if like Coca-Cola would just tank, and then my example would be pretty bad, right? But how the hell's Coca-Cola gonna tank? Anyway, so I don't own Coca-Cola, by the way. But if the more money I had, the more likely I would to buy Coca-Cola because it's a conservative, safe investment, and like it's a good stock to buy when you're already rich because you're probably not gonna go broke owning it. But the problem is you're probably not gonna get rich. Like it's not a good way to build wealth. It's a good way to just like make some wealth in a really safe way. Anyway, so then the next thing I want to touch on relating to this video is basically just being aware of how like consumerism, like beyond a certain point, is not going to make you truly happy. You know, like a lot of people are like, oh, how are you like miserable, like not spending any of the money you make? And it's like, well, first of all, like I already live like a pretty much comfortable life. I mean, like based on the purchases that me and my family have already made in the past, buying more, like more square footage is not like once you have a different enough distance from your family members, so you're not around them 24/7, go driving each other crazy. Like a big mansion's not going to make you happy. Going from a Toyota to a Lexus, like 4 months after you buy the Lexus, you're just going to take it for granted and think about it for 5 minutes a day. Like you know deep down that like these things are nice, but they're not the answer. And if this strategy means you have to live without some luxuries for a while, you're not like, oh, I'm being suckered into this. Like you're not really being deprived of anything. Like the next time you see someone in a really expensive car, I guarantee you they're gonna look miserable. And don't get me wrong. I mean, the whole point of this channel, a large point of this channel, is like how do we build wealth? And one of the nice things about being wealthy is we'll be able to buy nicer cars. So I don't. The whole point is to be responsible about it, to live within our means, and like how do we get so that we can afford really nice cars and not be stupid about it? Well, even if you land a really nice job, invest it all, save everything, because you never know if you'll just lose the job tomorrow. And even if you have a really well paying job, you don't want to be reliant on that employer solely for your income. And when you first start at your career, you have no choice but for that to be the case. But you want to wean yourself off the relying on the employer. So like you invest like a huge percentage of your first year's income, and then you invest in, and then your second year, like you're making 5%, 10% more money because of your investments. And then after 5, 10 years, like you're basically making another salary because of your investments. So that's kind of like you get to the million and then you can just be a lot more aggressive. Like I really think that like every family needs a baseline amount of wealth to be independent from to have like a certain amount of security, to have a certain amount of independence, to not be reliant on an employer. Even if you like your job, if you lose your job, you're not destitute. You don't have to like move or move out, or I mean you might have to downsize, but like you don't want to be completely screwed if something happens to your employment. I mean, it might not, like, you might be in a fine industry, but your health just randomly goes bad and you can't work. You might, there's just a lot of things could happen. Um, but anyway, I really want people, I really think the world would be a better place. Well, I don't know if that's the goal, but a lot of financial literacy is just at a really low point. And I want to do something to counteract that. And I think people need to understand how vulnerable they are until they've made their first million, and how much freer they can be if they get themselves to that point. And one of the most important parts I haven't touched on is that if you don't attempt, like there's a lot of people who make six figures for decades and never reach $1 million because they never set it as a goal. They don't imagine it as being possible. They don't understand the power of compounding. They don't understand how much of a void chasing materialism will give them. Um, and I just want, I wish the world would think more about how they can use money to achieve freedom. And that's ultimately the point of this channel is the goal is freedom, and money is a tool. Money is the primary tool for freedom. Now, it's not the end all be all, because if you're making a huge salary from a job you hate or even a job you love, if the job disappears, like you went from like the upper echelon high social status to nothing overnight, because ultimately you're just a really high paid you were just high paid hired help. And even if you're high up on the totem pole, if you're still hired help, like, you're disposable, like, to the world. And as cold as it sounds, like, your capital is more important than your labor when it comes to, like, becoming indisposable. Like, if you own a bunch of oil assets in West Texas, they're more likely to be more productive compared to now in 10 years than yourself. Like it's hard to describe, like, if you're aging, depending on where your age is, but it's hard to describe. But anyway, that was maybe a bad point, but I think I might have made my point good enough by now. Let's see, miser until a million. So basically, kind of like, I visualize this process as like a building with scaffolds on the side. You know how, like, when your buildings are being maintained or built, there's like scaffolding that's like a temporary structure that helps them build the building. That's how I see my job. I see my job as the scaffolds. Like, I'm on the scaffolds, kind of like adding stories to my empire. Like, all right, I made another 100 grand. So now, I went from like to 100. My empire went from 100 grand to 200 grand, right, or whatever it is. And then you gotta stay on the scaffolding, keep working your job to build that 200 grand up to 300 grand. But each level happens way quicker. I mean, I probably don't need to finish my sentence for you to know what I'm going to say, but just the compounding wealth effect, right? Like, your money's making a lot more money at 400 grand than 100 grand. So you're going to go from 400 grand to 500 grand a lot quicker than 0 to 100 grand, even if your salary stays the same. So I think another, a small tidbit about this that people need to wrap their minds around is just knowing that you can, what's the best use of money? Buying some trinket or gadget that'll depreciate, that'll just burden you with having to maintain it and place it somewhere and store it, or buying passive income through stocks. Like, it's like, oh, I got a $500 bonus. Do I, like, buy some bullshit on Amazon, or you know, you could buy some oil royalty stock? And, like, well, a year ago would have been better to do that, because I like buying things when it's off people's radar, when it seems unsexy but it has long-term value. And oil is kind of like more on people's radar because of the war and stuff right now. So, like, it's still probably a good buy if you don't have anything in your portfolio like that, because, I mean, let's face it, like, regardless of our political leanings or desires, like, there is a decent chance this war could drag on, just because that's historically what happens. So, and if that happens, like there could be continued oil supply constrictions, and not to mention, I mean, Europe is always going to need energy, but they're just not producing it themselves because they're committing suicide. Anyway, so investing needs to be your second job until you've reached your first million. And then once I mean, you have that skill set to get it to the second million, and you're at a point where if you have reached your breaking point at work, you can quit and not be like, well, I'm going to be homeless if I do. And it'll be like having the suit of armor on you. And I already feel it myself, like my net worth is way higher than it was a few years ago, and it just makes you walk around the world or like walk around work kind of like you're willing to take less shit. It's like, and that's another right reason why it's like ethical to build up that first level of wealth, because like when you only have like 5 grand to your name, like you have to put your tail between your legs and say yes, 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 okay, yes, yes, yes to like everything to your employer says, to everything like anyone who might be able to boost your career says. Like you're just so needy. And I'm increasingly convinced that like it's easier to be virtuous the more wealth you have, unless like you're an idiot, like like because like you're less desperate, like, and it's like, yeah, some people will like be like, well, what about all the trappings of wealth? Look at all the lottery winners, and it's like, I think the main threat is if you get too rich too young. Like if you get rich before you're 25, I mean, your brain's just not even fully developed, and like the wealth might actually like aid your destruction. But I'm at a wage now where like it's not like if I got a bunch of money, I would just start doing a bunch of drugs or like doing a bunch of dangerous shit or doing a bunch of unhealthy shit. Like money I spend on that would be money I'm not growing with my investments. It's like, and also like it would be so much more fun to like donate money to someone who really needs it than go on a Vegas binge. So, that's a whole nother story, a whole nother ethic, like in the realm of ethics, a whole nother reason why you should want to get wealthy is the good you can do with wealth. That's a whole nother video. Anyway, I wanted to make another video because it's been like weeks. Finally have the energy. Like I gotta get stronger and increase my work ethic, but I just didn't have the energy there for a while. But anyway, let me know what you think. Miser until a million. Once you reach a million, celebrate, buy a car or some shit. But you buy a brand new car when you're only at 100, 200 grand. It's just becomes too hard to reach that first million, and wait till you have the million, and the compounding effect will just make it like way less consequential to spend.